Morning all, Sunday morning shave. I'm going to be using this Cella Aloe Vera, and for a change I'm going to use this little brush, which is a pure either horse, I think it's a horsehair brush. Make a change from synthetic. Also, I need to make an apology because I was using a cloth measure, you know, the tape measures, a tape measure to measure my last razor's shave, and I said it was a 12/8, which of course it's not, it's a 10/8. So I do apologise to everyone for that oversight and mistake on my part. Yes, Max Sprecher quite rightly doesn't make a 12/8, so it couldn't have been a 12/8, and I wasn't thinking. But I laid the razor over a cloth tape on my bed because I don't like putting my razors onto steel measures. But now I have, and yes, it's a 10/8, so that serves me right. In future, I shall measure more accurately. Anyway, today I'm going to do a little bit of an unusual shave. A wonderful friend, Gary Hayward, has just shaved with a wedge and had a very good shave. I'm beginning to like wedges as well. So I thought today I'd use a Max Sprecher wedge, although it's actually a quarter hollow. A pure wedge I wouldn't touch. But this is a quarter hollow, so it's getting towards wedge, certainly very rigid. I'm going to use a very, very tiny, full hollow Wustenholm by George Wustenholm and Sons. And this is the smallest razor that I own. It's actually below 3/8, just below 3/8. So that's about as small as they get. Normally it would be, just a trimming razor, but this one, it's got a quite exceptional edge on it, and hanging hair tests in all directions known to man. It is supremely sharp, and it is a full hollow. So let's try a tiny, tiny little full hollow razor against a massive Sprecher quarter hollow. I'll show you the two in question. Big enough for you? I think so, yeah. So there you go, and tiny, tiny, tiny. Look at the difference. This, if I can get the camera to focus, which I probably can't, this is, believe it or not, a full hollow. Ba-doing. And this beast, as you can see, is very near wedge. Anyway, let's try with our little tiny one and see how that works. So they've both been stropped. They're both very, very good. Let's see. Yeah, I've got to say, you can shave with pretty much anything. I'm taking little short strokes. And obviously, being a full hollow, it's a little bit jumpy and stubby on heavy bristle. And on heavy bristles, my stubble is about, I don't know, 3 days, and it is pretty heavy, as you can probably hear. But when it comes to chewing it away, you can see it's doing it. But I've not used hot water today because it's quite warm. Yep, that's perfectly capable of giving a good shave. Just to prove the point, there's all the muck. And not one I choose as an everyday razor, but it doesn't weigh anything, it's tiny. Let's try now Max Sprecher and see how that performs. Oh, much better. One of the reasons I like heavy razors, they don't mess about. They don't stall. And I find they're just as comfy to use as a hollow, but they're unforgiving. Absolutely unforgiving. But that's beautiful. I mean, that is really cutting. And even though it's a quarter hollow, you can still hear what it's doing. And again, yep. Sorry if I've got so many white bristles. It's called age. Never mind. Yeah. That's doing a very, very good job. I used to love the feedback that you get from a full hollow blade. The feedback is just wonderful. And of course they make a huge amount of noise and they tell you exactly what's going on. You do, with a good blade like this, you do get feedback. It's just on a different scale. And it takes a little more getting used to. A bit like my tape measure reading. It takes a lot of getting used to when you're an idiot. However, that is a beautiful, beautiful shave. To say half my hairs are dark and the other half are rather grey. So let's just finish off this first pass. And I'll show you the beauty of this razor. How about that? Mother of pearl inlay over abalone. This was owned by our wonderful friend and YouTuber, Serge. If you haven't seen any shaving with Serge videos, you're missing a lot. He was, and still is, a fantastic guy to learn from. And this was one of his. So I'm very grateful that he parted with it. And I'm very grateful to own it. It's a superb razor. This is an absolute belter. French point, inlaid. Even the sides, look at that. Even the sides are inlaid. There's no jimping on it, doesn't really need it. And unfortunately, there's no massive Max Sprecher trademark on it, but anybody knows by the fine work on it. Look at that. I mean, that has got Max Sprecher written all over it. So I'm very happy. It's got a beautiful, strange liner. And of course, I think it's a Powell. I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it might be a Powell, which again is another, I believe, natural shell. I'm not an expert. All I'm an expert on is messing about with different edges and different blades and being happy in what I do. However, that's enough of that. Let's now try against the grain on the neck with this little tiny razor. This is quite a challenge. The feel couldn't be more different. But it's doing it. Yeah. Not quite as well as the big boy. I think you'd need a few more strokes for this little fella. Particularly just under the chin. but the hairs seem to be rather thick. I'm going to do the other side with the Sprecher as a comparison. Yeah. The Sprecher takes no notice of the direction of the hair, whereas a little lightweight fella does. It's still remarkably good steel, the Wustenholm. Very, very good steel. The only thing I would say is I just feel more comfortable with this. But to be able to go from one to the other is very harsh. It's asking a lot. They're utterly different in shape. And they're utterly different in feel. I would assume that the little sub 3/8 was only ever used by barbers as a trimming razor. But the steel quality would be the same from Wustenholm as if it was a big razor. I suppose a true test would have been, had it been a wedge, it would have been a bit more accurate as a test, or a quarter hollow, like the wonderful Sprecher. But you can't have it always. It's still the smallest razor I own. But for pride of ownership, this is a beast. I'm very proud of it. Thank you so much, Serge, because I'll love it forever, or as long as I've got it. I'm assuming also that this green pot of Schaller, the one I'm using now, is as good as the red. I've got to say, out of all the soaps I use, because I use such radically different razors, I tend to rather like the lathers, which are kinder on the skin. I'm not saying which has the best lather and which has the best aroma. The aroma on this little cello is very mild. Very nice, rather flowery. Hardly smell it, to be honest. But there again, a life of engineering in my weird world doesn't give you the best sense of smell. Yeah, for a big razor, handles supremely well. For those who are, not very interested in big razors, if you get a chance to give one a go, you might be surprised, as I was surprised by how nice a semi-wedge, or a quarter hollow is. For a smaller razor, I would definitely not go for a wedge or a quarter hollow. For a smaller blade, I'd be very happy with a full hollow. Particularly for those starting into straight razor shaving, I would go for, if it's a modern blade, Boca are good. A hard steel, Thiers Isard are very good. But for the ultimate, you go for a collectible Spanish razor, and they're absolutely superb. I'm going to go back to using them in the next couple of videos, I'm sure. But at the moment, I want to do more experimental shaving, more experiments with blades. And at the moment, as I say, I'm very happy to try this big beast. My last shave, which was with the beautiful mother of pearl inlaid Max Sprecher, not quite as good as this actually. when I made a total cock up on measuring. I do apologise one more time. It is from edge to spine at 10/8, and it weighs a ton. But this fella, with its slightly more muted point, this has a beautiful French nose to it, and it's a little less lethal. I've got to say the extreme Spanish point on my last razor my last video is a little unnerving. For a simple reason. When it comes to nooks and crannies, just behind or just around the ear, you can't be absolutely certain where the point of the blade is. And when you're dealing with something which is surgically sharp, you make a mistake, you are going to pay for it. The tiny little nicks, who cares? Yeah, it's pretty good. Yep, that's BBS. I've got to do a fool's pass for the simple reason I've got a groove in my nose, in my upper lip. But with a big blade like this, you can do a fool's pass with one hand. You don't need two hands. You know, it has a steadying effect upon you. For the simple reason it's so bloody big. I'm still a little bit nervous when it comes to certain directions. It's so good. Why anybody would shave any other way? The rewards of straight razor shaving are immense. You've got the skill, which you build up over the years. Oh look, is that a pimple? I think I might have just touched myself trying to do the fool's pass, going that way, which is stupid. Anyway, I'm just going to trim up now around the neck, and I'm going to call that a day. I'm sure you've heard enough of my foolishness. What I would say is, life's about experimentation. If you want to stick with safety razors, well, that's your choice. If you want to stick with only full hollow straight razors, sure, fine, why not? But I think I've tried just about every razor now, every shape. And I think my favourite for ease of handling, you won't believe me, is actually Mr. Wolfson's. Hello, Trevor. Trevor makes extraordinarily beautiful artisan design razors. But the crazy thing is they hold incredibly well. I mean, this Sprecher is bloody gorgeous. But I've got to say, I'm going to soon be able to try this Top Max Sprecher, which is absolutely heavenly, against the latest design by Trevor Wolfson. And Wolf Blades uses stainless steel. This you've got to be careful of. This is a high carbon steel, and it needs the same reverence and care as any antique razor. And that means you've got to be very, very careful. Anyway, chaps, I'm sorry to keep wittering on. I'm going to call that a day. I'll put the razors down, or I'll show you one more time. Here they are before I run out of my time slot. Little and large. How about that? 10/8 quarter hollow, full hollow, sub 3/8, and still works. Anyway, chaps, thanks so much. If you enjoyed this, do tell your friends, do subscribe, and I'll do some more. See you next time. Bye for now.